Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today I thought I'd bring you along to show you some of the native seed starting that I've been doing. I'm going to be working on getting a couple of varieties ready today. I've already potted a few up behind me. I think I did 6 trays last night, but I've been working on those for a couple of months already. So I thought I would just catch you up on what I've been working on, and then we'll dive into the ones that I'm going to be getting started on today. So I have a package over here. This is my native seeds. I have quite a selection in there, and some I have growing out in my yard already, and some I've been struggling with a little bit over the past few years. So I thought I would get a little bit more in depth with trying to get them going, and we'll just hopefully get some results that way. So what I did is, when I was looking at these packages, the ones I'm growing in this video are all from the Blazing Star Seed Company, and they have fairly good instructions on the back. So these were all from the 2021 season. They've had a couple of years of just sitting here dormant, and one thing that can happen with seeds that sit dormant, especially things like native seeds, is sometimes it takes a little bit more effort to break that dormancy. And native seeds often need a little bit of extra treatment to break the dormancy already, at least for native seeds found up here in the cold north. So I'm in Saskatchewan, Canada. These plants are all native to my region, or I can't remember for sure. There might be a couple that are native to the provinces right beside me, but I wanted to give them a try here. So I went on the Prairie Moon Nursery website because they have really good information for how to break the dormancy for native seeds. So that's the instructions that I went off of to work with all of these seeds that I'm going to work with today. So there are basic planting instructions on the backs of all of these packages, but the Prairie Moon site just goes just a little bit deeper into the information and breaks them down into different categories and things. And I won't get all totally technical with you on them, but I'll go through these and show you what I have. So all of these seeds that I'm holding in my hand here all needed to be cold stratified. Some of them needed to be cold stratified for 30 days, some for 60. I think there was one in there for like 45 or something. And one of them needed to be stratified in sand. So there's different ways of cold stratifying and scarifying and different things, and one of them needed to be in sand. So we'll get into what these are. The last week was the official last day that any of these needed to be in the cold stratification process, which was in a drawer in my refrigerator. Most of them were just in paper toweling, and one of them, which I'll get to in a minute here, was in sand. So they were all done their cold stratification time. I checked on them every week just in case any of them had started to germinate early. If they had, I would have pulled those seeds out and planted them up sooner, but none of them had germinated from what I could see, so I just left them in there. And last night I was able to get to them, and I planted up into trays like this one. I planted tufted fleabane, dotted blazing star, which I think I actually have some of this, or no, what do I have? I already have the meadow blazing star and then the regular Liatris that you could buy at the garden centers, but I have the meadow blazing star going in my yard already, but I haven't been able to get the dotted blazing star going, so I planted that up. Hairy golden aster, prairie coneflower, alum root, 3-flowered avens. Now I do have some of these growing in my yard already, but I wanted a bit more, so I got some of this going. And Lindley's aster. Now Lindley's aster needed to be cold stratified in sand, and worked around in the sand a little bit, and I believe that's to break down the seed coat a little bit. So hopefully that sand did the trick. I just purchased some regular children's play sand and used that to have them in, and it was moist, and that's what I used. The rest were all in just paper toweling. All these seeds that I planted up last night, I also took when I started their cold stratification process and put into a little pack like this. Some were in, I think, 2 packs, some were 4 packs, just kind of what I grabbed. And I did them all up, and they're sitting in my greenhouse. It's an unheated greenhouse, and they've been sitting out there for, 1 to 2 months, depending on when their cold stratification started. And it's like a winter sowing project, just on a little bit different level. And so I'm also going to be doing that with the seeds I work with today. Hopefully that all made sense to you. So I'm going to get these seed packets out of my way. We're done working with them for now. The seeds that I planted up last night are just sitting behind me on the grow shelves. I have a couple on a few different shelves. And just hopefully I get some germination out of them. So when I was working on that project last night, I also took my Prairie crocus. Now this one I've tried to grow in the past. I actually thought I had seeds going in a flat, seeds that a very kind viewer had sent to me years ago. And when it came right down to it, I think there was some weed seeds in the soil I was using because it was not Prairie crocus. But I would really like to try and get these going. I've tried planting them just outside in the fall. I've tried all sorts of things with no luck. So the instructions from Prairie Moon said to soak them overnight. And so I just put them, hopefully you can see they're just sitting in water there. And I dumped a bunch of them in there. There are still seeds in here. Prairie crocus seed head is kind of like a dandelion. So you get quite a few off of each head. So they've just been soaking here overnight. And now I'm going to plant them into this tray that I've already prepared. So it's just a little 12 pack. And I thought I would bring you along to see how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to actually bring the camera down really close for you so you can have a really good look at what I'm doing. Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to have a good view of this together. So with these seeds, they have, hopefully you can have a good view of it there. They have like a little seed head at that end, and then there's like a tail on it. And so what they say to do is poke the seed head end into the soil and leave the tail sticking up. So I'm going to try and do that. I might need to get a skewer or something just to kind of poke. Yeah, I think I need to kind of make a hole for it. So let me grab that. Okay, so let me grab one of these again. I've just grabbed a long skewer here. Kind of tricky to grab these fluffy little guys out of the water like that. So I'm just going to put like a little, just the slightest little indent there so I can just get that stuck down. And I'm actually going to put a couple in each spot here. Find some that have seeds attached. Okay. So what I find kind of interesting is they say that when these seeds are germinating, you water them, and when they germinate, they say these little tails will spin around, and then they're germinating and growing roots down into the ground. I'm going to get the ones that look a little more developed here. So I'm going to try and do at least 2 in each thing, and I might come back and put more in. Just see how many I have in the end here. I also need to have enough to put into that kind of winter sowing thing. I don't know where that one went. Oh, it is there. It's kind of tricky to see. I'm not sure how well you're seeing this. But I'm just going to keep going through and just kind of making the tiniest little indent just so I can get somewhere for that to hold on, stand up in there. And put them in, and then I'll show you after I've got them all done. All right, I've emptied my little dish of anything that looks like it's at all resembling a seed. So that's done. And they're all in these 2 trays here. So I want to get some labels in before I forget. I have one here. I did them up already. So I think I wound up with 2 in every one of this container here, every cell. Some of them were a little questionable as to how well developed the seed was, but most of them looked like good seed to me. And this one, I think I got 2 in all cells except for one of them. And again, most of them looked pretty good, but there was a couple, I'm not sure how good the seeds are, but I'm not an expert in prairie crocus, so we'll see. But I love prairie crocus. They're a beautiful native plant around here. They grow in the hills near my parents' farm, and they're just a beautiful thing to see. And there's not many of them out there, at least in that area, left that are just growing native. People tend to pick them because they are so pretty and beautiful when you come across them. And they've just been, I think, trampled on and outpaced by other things. They are a native plant. They're good for the native pollinators, and they're an earlier spring blooming plant, which is always nice to have because there's not as many of those out here, and those early pollinators need them. So I'm going to now put just a little bit of vermiculite on top of this. These don't really want to be planted deeply. They just kind of wanted to be poked in the soil and barely kind of covered. So I'm going to do that. And the vermiculite will just try and help hold a little bit of moisture in around them. So that's all that's for. Grab my spray bottle. And I'm going to give them a really good spritz to help them settle down into the soil because they're kind of delicate to work with. So it's hard to kind of push the soil around them. So this will help to really get them settled into that soil. So there's no air pockets around the seed. So that's all there really is to it. This will go under a bit of a humidity dome out in my greenhouse. And this tray will stay in my house with this humidity dome on it, and I'll put it on the shelf here. I'll find some space for it. I need to shuffle some things around. And it says that you just need to keep them moist at this stage, and germination should happen in about 2 weeks. So like I said, they say that when you water them, once they're germinating, those little tails kind of spin around. I don't know if that's actually true or not. We'll find out, I guess. But hopefully I get something out of these. So we'll get these to the side, and I'll show you the next step in the prairie clover. Okay, so I had to go grab my kettle because for the purple prairie clover, you're supposed to do something called hot scarification. So I believe this is a cover crop that people grow and just toss out in the autumn and grow in their yard. But when I've tried that, I haven't seen what I believe is purple prairie clover coming up. Maybe I'm weeding it out. I don't know. That can happen. But the seeds are really tiny little, I don't know, little balls, almost like an onion seed, I guess. And I'm just going to spill them everywhere. Try and get them in this bowl. And I'm going to dump the whole thing in here. And then you're supposed to hot water scarify them for 24 hours. So all that means is I just boiled some water in here. So this is about as close to boiling water as you can get. And they're going to just sit here for 24 hours now. So I had to look it up because I honestly wasn't totally sure if I had to keep the water hot or what I did with it after I poured the boiling water on. So if you're wondering that same thing, from what I can find everywhere is you just pour that boiling water over the seeds and then you just let them sit in that water and let it just cool down to room temperature for the 24 hours or whatever it says for your seeds that you're doing. So I will bring you back when I'm ready to plant these, and we'll continue on this journey. So my purple prairie clover seeds have been now soaking for about 24 hours in this water, and it's time to move on to the next step. So the first thing that I need to do is to drain off the water. So I've just brought another little container here. I grabbed a coffee filter. I'm gonna set it in here. You could use paper towel or whatever you like. And I'm just going to pour the water and the seeds in here and hopefully catch the water in the container and the seeds in the coffee filter. Or, well, maybe the seeds will just stay in the bowl there. That works for me too at this point. So pull that up, let it drain off, because I need this coffee filter. Okay, so this is just the water we drained off. We don't need this. And now I have this coffee filter, and it has, hopefully you can see there, a few seeds in it. I don't know how well you can see them. Remember, I said earlier that I've been putting out a few seeds to kind of winter sow them out in my greenhouse. So I have this one done up from the Prairie Crocus, or the past flower, and I'm going to do this one for the purple prairie clover. And I'm going to spray this down really well. And when there's water dripping out the bottom, I know I've given them enough water. So I'm just going to carefully take a few of these purple prairie clover seeds, and I'm just going to set them in these cell trays here. So there'll probably be about 5 or 6 in each of these little cells. Try and spread them out a bit. I'll put a few more in. So the purple prairie clover needs to be planted about 5 to 10 millimeters deep, which is about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. So it really doesn't need to be buried very much. So I'm just going to give them a good push to make sure that they have good contact with the soil. And I'm actually just going to put vermiculite on them, a good heavy layer of it. That'll help keep the moisture with it and get them buried the way they want to be. Give that another little spray just to give that vermiculite a bit more moisture. Put the tag in. And I'll take these out to the greenhouse in a few minutes and show you what I've done with the rest of them that I've done up. But let's work on this next part for inside the house. So the thing with the purple prairie clover is it actually still needs some cold stratification. So we just hot scarified it overnight, and now we need to get all these little seeds out. And again, you could use a paper towel. I'm just going to reuse this coffee filter that I had here, just something that's going to hold the moisture. And I'm trying to spread them out a little bit, but they're of course wet, so they're stuck together now. But we'll just do our best to get them out and into this coffee filter. Alright, so they're all in there. Hopefully I have a good enough view of that. And I'm just going to fold it over just to kind of hold the dampness around them. I'm going to take a piece of paper towel just to take up any excess moisture that's on there. I think I need to fold this just a tiny bit more just to fit it in my baggie here. So I'm going to put that in with it, and I have this baggie that's labeled, and I've already put the date. I've put the name of what's in here and the date of when it needs to come out of the refrigerator, because these are going to go in this baggie just like that. And they're just going to go in my refrigerator for 10 days. So they're supposed to have a cold treatment of 10 days. That's where they're going. I've sealed it up right now, but when I actually set it in the fridge, I'll open it so that the air can move around. I just don't want to somehow manage to dump it out on my way there. After those 10 days, I'll take those seeds and just sow them into one of these packs. I've already have the soil in it. It's ready to go. I'll have to make sure it's nice and damp again. And then I'll put the seeds in and I'll sow them, like I said, that 5 to 10 millimeters deep, just like I did with this other tray over here. And they'll go under my grow light system in the house. So that's in 10 days. And I won't bring you along for that. I think you know how to put seeds on soil. So that would be the last step before they just sit on my grow shelf with all the rest that I've done in this video. And wait for hopefully germination and to get ready to plant out. So let's go to the greenhouse. And I'll show you what I've done with these trays that I've been making up to do the kind of winter sowing that I've been doing. Okay, it is not a nice day out here outside today, but it's a little better in the greenhouse. But it's really simple what I've done here. So I've been bringing things out, you know, a few trays at a time. So I thought I'd just get it all put together at once right now. So I just grabbed a tray that I keep out in the greenhouse. These are trays that I know leak, so they're better off out here than in my house. So I'm just gonna get all of these winter sown seeds. So you saw me do the pasque flower or the prairie crocus and the purple prairie clover in this video. And then I have a few more trays that I've, you know, slowly been bringing out over time. So this tray, which is frozen, has ice stuck to the bottom of it. It's cold in here. This is tufted fleabane, three-flowered avens, and hairy golden aster. So I'm going to sit that in there. This one again, ice on the bottom. Oh, thought it wasn't labeled for a minute, but there, Lindley's aster. And we have a tray of alum root, prairie coneflower, and dotted blazing star. So this is kind of the same idea as if you had them in your milk jugs. You'd have a little bit of soil, put your seeds in, it would be covered up, and just let the winter cold in that do its job. So that's why the purple prairie clover that's staying in the house is going into cold stratification. The one that I brought it here is too, it's just in a different sense. And obviously it'll be more than 10 days because winter is not going to be over in 10 days here, unfortunately. So all I'm gonna do, now that I have them all together and they're in this tray, I'm going to put this dome over them. Got some of these labels are a little tall and frozen. I'll put the taller dome on them, I guess. Luckily I have one out here. And this will just act as kind of an extra greenhouse effect on these plants out here. So they give them just another small layer of protection. It won't be much. I'm actually going to open the vents up just slightly so they don't overheat, because inside this dome, when the sun shines on my greenhouse, even if it's like minus 15 Celsius outside, it could get upwards of around 30 Celsius inside this dome like this. Someone is probably going to ask, so I better mention it. There is a heat mat here, but it's not actually turned on. It's just here for future plans. So when it gets turned on, these will have to move to another shelf. I'll have to keep checking on these. I've already watered the ones that have been out here for a few months. I've already watered them once because they were starting to look like they're getting dried out. So that's something you still need to pay attention to, especially the idea with winter sowing is it would be sitting outside. You'd have the lids off, and if it rained or snowed, that moisture would go in the containers. I find I often wind up needing to give them some extra moisture anyway, so this way it's just all in here where I see it and I'm out here and I don't forget about them, which I often do with my winter sowing jugs when they're sitting outside somewhere. So hopefully that gave you a really good look at what I'm doing to try and sow some native seeds and get some native plants going for my yard this year. My front yard is mainly native plants, so that's where I'll probably be putting most of these plants, though some will probably wind up in my backyard as well, because natives are beautiful everywhere. So if you haven't tried native plants yet, I'd say give it a try. Oftentimes you'll need to find seeds if you want to start native plants, though the green garden centers are getting better about it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.